I guess the question is now this. Do we have it in us in tomorrow's game against Man City to cause an upset, to get a result, to potentially influence this title race and slow down this Man City juggernaut? I mean, for keeping things brutally real, my friends, I'm expecting us to get ready to give these guys a guard of honor in tomorrow's game. I kind of feel like the word hope in general is just not synonymous with this football club at all this season. But the only solace I can take right now is that we have 3 games left until this terrible nightmare of a season is over. And then after that, we have Pochettino coming in. We're going to be seeing players finally sold. We're going to see some quality additions added to this squad. And hopefully we're going to see a proper football team in the making for next season. Because I guess the one detail I'm going to be paying tons of attention to this summer is how well we perform during pre-season. And I do feel like we picked a lot of smart teams to play against. You know, none of the traditional big boys, but teams of a decent level that play like in a multitude of different tactical varieties. And I feel like for this pre-season that's upcoming, a lot of these guys will need this as the gelling period. We're going to need this as the way to really kickstart like a real way of playing, like an identity. And I do think that this is where this summer is going to be absolutely key. Because I say all of this, my friends, because of course, you know, we're playing against Man City and we all think to ourselves, like, how can we get to their level? What is separating us? How long is it going to take us? And in my opinion, it's going to take us at least a minimum of 2 years just to be able to see whether we can challenge Man City. Because, you know, they're on such a different level right now. I feel like if I was to give an FM analogy, like Man City are like 6-7 years into their save right now. You know, they've literally completed football. You know, the academy's perfect, the first team's perfect. They've had this style of play for years right now. And it's just like when a club is of that type of level where they've been consistently building on seasons and they've been consistently building on everything season by season by season. They're currently in the league of their own. And for us to get there, it's not going to take us signing just one special player in the market and then single-handedly having this player transform us overnight. It's going to take consistently working perfectly on a game plan that suits and benefits every single member of our squad, that takes our guys to the next level, that finally allows us to do things that we haven't been able to do for years now, actually scoring goals. And once we can see signs of that, then I think in the future we can have this discussion between us and Man City. But tomorrow, my friends, you know, final big game of the season. It would be lovely to see us get at least something against Man City, who've been absolutely peppering us throughout this season and just showing us levels it has hurt. And in today's match preview, I'm going to go through the key points from the press conference. I'm going to give my predicted lineups and I'll give my prediction right at the end. So my friends, share your thoughts and opinions. And without wasting any more time, now let's start things off. And with the team news, of course, Reece, Mason, Ben, Kante, Kukurea, Benbar, who recently picks up an injury in training, he is now out, and Koulibaly is touch and go because, you know, he isn't fully match fit at this point in time. So it's going to make Lampard's lineup selection very interesting against Man City tomorrow. But now let's discuss some of the key points from the press conference, and I guess the question is now this. Do we have it in us in tomorrow's game against Man City to cause an upset, to get a result, to potentially influence this title race and slow down this Man City juggernaut? Scored that Galazzo backheel goal. That was when Erling Haaland was playing against us as a team. And I remember that because I did a video on a preview for that game. And that was during the time where Haaland was the guy that scored like 9 goals for Norway's under-21 team. So he's had a massive reputation for a long time. And I guess we all kind of know that Lampard has a very good eye when it comes to spotting those talents that can go on to the next level. Let's not forget that he was also very interested in signing Osimhen from Lille as well too. So he does know what he's doing when it comes to recruitment. Anyway, Lampard reveals that Haaland at the time was his outstanding choice to sign. But I guess, you know, there was some difficulties in making that move happen. He was a bit coy with things, but to be fair with you, Lampard was kind of undermined quite a lot by the previous boards. I think some of the players he wanted to bring in and integrate were probably the right ones in hindsight, and would have cost us way less money at the time if someone at the board shared that same footballing vision that Frank had. But regardless, Lampard said tomorrow we have to be wary of Erling Haaland, a guy that, you know, from his own goals alone, he has outscored our entire club this season. I think that's a very shameful stat. And if there's one thing Pochettino has to do is bring back the goals to this football club. Now, we haven't always been synonymous with goals, but our recent struggles in the scoring department is getting really pathetic right now. And, big things need to happen there. So Lampard said Haaland, he's the guy to watch. We might have a game plan to try and stop him. I wonder what that's going to be now. Koulibaly did very well against him in the last game at Stamford Bridge. It's going to be up to guys like Fofana and Trevor Chalobah now to do something against Haaland. So that's the Haaland stuff out of the way. And I'd probably say that's the press conference out of the way, because the rest of it was just like standard stuff. Of course, we're not ready yet to challenge Man City. Of course, our aspirations are to emulate the levels they're setting. All that standard stuff. So let's now focus our attention now on my 2 predicted lineups for the game tomorrow. And I guess I'm stuck in 2 minds, because a part of me feels like, is Lampard going to maintain the same way of playing that we've been using recently, a 4-3-3 and a focus on using young players, which Lampard has alluded to the fact that he is willing to do now, especially with the midfield injury crisis we have at this point in time. Hence why Chukwuemeka couldn't leave us to go to the England under-20s for the World Cup. So I guess now that youth are going to be in the spotlight, could that affect the lineups we use? At the same time, we are playing against Man City. And could it be like a smart thing to, try and play to win? Revert back to using a back 3 with wing backs, and then of course turn to your squad as subs as the game's going on. Regardless, here's my first lineup. I've gone for a 3-4-3, and as you guys can see, Kepa in goal in defence. Trev on the left, Silva in the middle, Fofana on the right hand side, wing backs, Ruben on the right, Lewis Hall on the left, in midfield, Enzo, Connor, and up front, Madueke on the right hand side, Sterling on the left hand side, and Kai Havertz up front. Now, normally when I say Kai Havertz, I always tend to get like a bit of stick in the comments, and it's just like, I'm trying to think of the realistic lineup that's going to be picked tomorrow. And even though Havertz has his mediocrities and his struggles and issues, it always goes back to why do managers decide to use him, and that's because he is an outlet. The current best outlet in the squad at this point in time. At least he can press from the front. At least this guy can challenge aerials. He can hold the ball up a lot better. He has those details in this game, and I would not be surprised that we turn to using them against Man City tomorrow. And I guess up front, Raheem Sterling, Madueke. Now, I know that a lot of us want to see Mudryk. I really want to see Mudryk too, but at the same time, I'm trying to be a bit like honest and realistic with things. Mudryk, was he set to really explode instantly after signing for us? Hindsight suggests absolutely not. But it's really simple. Now that Raheem Sterling has scored like a brace in his previous game, he'll probably start the game against Man City against his former club. I don't think he should lose that left wing spot to be moved to the right hand side for Mudryk to play when, I'm guessing in training, Mudryk is not doing enough currently to win this spot over Raheem Sterling. So that's up to Mudryk. And, life at the big clubs, you don't get patronising minutes. And let's keep things real. Frank Lampard is not afraid to use young players. You need to prove why you have to play. So let's see what happens with Mudryk in tomorrow's game. Obviously, Madueke in the right-hand side has to be the play. I think he's been one of the very interesting players for us. I didn't think his previous game was amazing, but he's still very young. And I'm not unrealistic, and I'm not expecting him to be playing like 8 out of 10 week in, week out. So that is my thinking for this lineup. Of course, a back 3. You might use one because the midfield now lacks N'Golo Kante, which is never helpful against Man City. And I guess having like maybe one defender, solely focusing his attention on Erling Haaland and, being difficult to break down and finding the right moments to attack on the counter-attack could be the play that we turn to if we do use a back 3 against Man City. And obviously for the last lineup, it is a 4-3-3. Of course, Kepa in goal again. Trevor on the right hand side is a right back. Fofana, Silva and Lewis Hall. To be honest with you, that lack of pace and like physicality issues scares me a little bit. But, I'm looking at guys like Lewis Hall. It's not the first time he's played against Man City. I feel like he gave a pretty decent account of himself. And Trevor Chalobah has been a very reliable player over these past few games. In midfield, listen, Ruben down that left-hand side. And I'm accepting that this will be the final time I see Ruben playing for us at this football club. So if that's the case, let me see this guy cook a few more times playing on the left-hand side of a midfield 3. That's been by far his best position. It's been a shame that he hasn't tended to get much opportunities to play that way based on like the different tactical approaches we've used over the past few years. But You know, recently this guy's influence has been on show. I mean, he got an assist in the last game. You know, he kick-started the move for Felix's third goal too against Bournemouth. And when he plays on that left-hand side, that ability to carry the ball, the physicality, the hold-up, it's kind of surprised me that he hasn't been given as many opportunities to play down there, considering that he has had a pretty decent season, to be fair with you. But regardless, Enzo, of course, being forced to play the reducer role because we have no one to link the left and right sides together. So unfortunately, he has to keep playing there. And Conor Gallagher, who I think as the season's been ending, he has been stepping up. And it's no surprise why a lot of big clubs are more than happy to pay 40 to 50 million to try and sign in this window. And obviously up front, I was thinking between Felix and Havertz. You know, I would love to see Felix against Pep Guardiola and Man City. I kind of feel like against a team like that, having that little technical play, guy is very good with the ball at his feet. So that opens up opportunities. And if it was my lineup, I would probably go for Felix again, Madueke on the right hand side and Sterling on the left. But I would not be surprised to see Havertz, of course, starting again tomorrow against Man City. And, you know, I think as I was saying earlier, Sterling has to play because he had a good game last week. He got a double, and that's how the game works. So they're my predicted lineups. Share your thoughts and opinions. And if you don't like them, give me your lineup in the comments below. And now to end things with my final match prediction. I am going for a 3-1 defeat to ourselves. Yeah, I always hate doing that. But when I've looked at my predictions throughout the season, wow, had an absolute nightmare. And it's like, I can't accept reality. Like, based on my predictions, we'd be like top 2 right now in the league. So, you know what? I finally learned my lesson. I'm predicting a loss. I'm not seeing Man City with their current form flopping anything at this point in time. And I guess all I want to see is like a performance that doesn't make me like ashamed of my team. And hopefully young guys getting an opportunity and being able to show what they can do and impressing Pochettino. So my friends, I'm going to wrap things up, keep things moving. I'm Nini FC. This is BlueLionsTV. I'll catch you guys later with some more videos. Cool.